Welcome to the podcast, a special emergency edition. Um, Guys, just kind of hearing it in real time. Andrew Luck is retired from the NFL. Um, I got my boy Adam Reuter jump on with me. I just felt like we needed to have this emergency, just kind of process this together and kind of work through this and talk about maybe what's the next chapter. Adam, how you doing, man?
Man, Zach, I'm hanging in there, bud. Just trying to process all this that's going on right now, and just trying to see what the future holds.
Yeah, the ball just dropped. At the end of the day, uh, we're sitting there. I guess fourth quarter. Late third quarter. I can't even remember. My mind's so blurry right now. We're watching the game. Kind of trying to make our notes of preseason game three, and then all of a sudden, Adam Schefter tweets out, Andrew Luck is retiring from the game in the middle of an actual game. Andrew Luck, I'm actually looking at him on the sideline. He's walking up and down the sideline, talking to his teammates, and all of a sudden this happens in real time. And then all of a sudden, Adam, you know as well as I do. Twitter just goes crazy. You text me,
Yeah.
Chris texts me. And then all of a sudden, here we are. And we're doing a podcast. We didn't even plan on doing this podcast. We just kind of snuck off and said, "Hey, man, we got to do this for the people who listen to us, because we know they're hurting like we are." Um, just what was your first reaction, Adam? Man, I know it's hard to kind of put it into words at this moment, but what was your first just initial reaction?
Man, my first reaction was it. I don't want to say. I mean, it was obviously shock, like everyone else, and I don't want to say that any of part of it makes sense. But just looking back quickly on everything with Jim Irsay maybe mentioned something about between the years and uh, him not having an immediate need or passion about when he talks about the game of football, and I've never faulted Andrew for that. I mean, for having other loves, outside of the game. Now, I can't expect everyone to be, like Peyton Manning and just be obsessed with the game of football. But the more I thought about it, the more I just realize that this is not if this is not if he can't be the player that he wants to be, which he said multiple times in the past, that he just didn't want to do it. And with the I know he talked so much about the injury struggles and how he was in such a dark place after the 2017 season, after he played the entire 2016 season hurt and everything that he went through right there, and then to have this seemingly minor issue, keep nagging him like that. It kind of started to just hit me in my mind. I was like, he just doesn't love the game. I can't, you can't compare him to Peyton Manning, but he's just not Peyton Manning. He just doesn't love the game like 18 did, and it's just so unfortunate to see it come to such a hit this franchise like 100 tons of bricks, man. It's just sad.
Yeah, man. I think one thing really important to note too, Adam, is the franchise, Jim Irsay, Chris Ballard, maybe even Frank Reich, they're going to get a little bit of flack for this. But at the end of the day, they in no way, in my mind, they didn't misinterpret us this time. This is not 2017. They didn't mislead us. If you watch
Yeah.
the press conference, there were literally tears in Chris Ballard's eyes. They were as emotional. They were, look, hey, they were caught off guard just like we were caught off guard. Chris Ballard mentioned Monday that he heard about this, and this was news to him. And he's feeling what we are feeling right now as a fan of Andrew Luck. And I just think it's really important before we move on to anything else, just to kind of say, hey, don't put this on the fans. Or don't put this on Chris Ballard and Jim
Yeah.
Irsay. This was an Andrew Luck thing. Andrew Luck made a decision to retire from football. It's Andrew Luck's decision. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that should be definitely cleared up. I mean, you can call us homers, call us naive, but I mean, those people that just keep they just want to be angry at someone, and they're throwing a lot of that on just the wrong people. And this is just Andrew Luck, making his own decisions, dude. He's just a different dude, and this is what he wants to do with his life. I mean, he's got a baby on the way. So, I mean, he's just going through some stuff right now in his head. And the timing of it is just, to me, insane. I mean, it's just absolutely not normal, 2 weeks right before the regular season. But, it is what it is. The 2019 season is still going to go on. They're still going to play week 1 out in LA against the Chargers. And they got to get this team ready to play with Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, I mean, one image that, just stuck in my head while you were talking just now, Adam, is 1 week ago, Dan Graziano tweets out a video of Andrew Luck warming up before a game. And I think every single person had such just a array of hope. Like, man, he's going to be ready for week 1. Here we go. And then all of a sudden, a week later, as we're sitting here right now, almost 11 o'clock at night recording a podcast, just because as Colts fans, we're just going through it, and this is just going to help us process it. But I think the next thing is that we need to support Jacoby Brissett, and we need to realize that Jacoby Brissett is not Andrew Luck, so he's not going to have the same type of skill set. But there are things that Jacoby can do very well. And I think Frank Reich's going to really prove this year he's a really good coach by scheming and using Jacoby in the ways that he can use him moving forward. And I think we just need to just take 24 hours, take a deep breath, and then just say, hey, Jacoby's our guy, man. We got to move on. We got to go with Jacoby, and we got to support him. And Adam, do you feel the same way about Jacoby?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's their. I already had a couple guys asking me tonight, what are they going to do about the situation now? And I'm like, to me, there's no question as far as the starter. I mean, no, Brissett is the starter. I mean, they might bring in another guy for just another camp body or something, but I mean, I think that they're fine with. I don't think that's going to change at all. I mean, as far as who's starting and everything. This is Jacoby's 3rd season with the team. He knows the playbook. I mean, so I think we absolutely have to support him as the quarterback of the starting quarterback, of the Indianapolis Colts. And just as I say that, it's just so shocking because when we first heard about this in late April, it was Frank Reich, and once again, this is not him lying to us. This was genuinely the case, and I'm sure Andrew maybe thought this as well, that he was saying that, he's got a calf strain, but if there was a game that Sunday that he would have played. And if you would have told me that would have eventually led to that nagging injury and eventually him retiring, man, I would have told you were absolutely insane. So I'm just still trying to process it. But yes, I absolutely think that they need to move forward, build around for this season around Brissett. So
yeah, I mean, we just got to kind of rally around Jacoby, and I
right.
think it won't be fair for us if we don't give him a fair chance with this current team and this current roster. Chris Ballard alluded to this a little while back. This is not the 2017 team. This is a much more talented team. I don't think Jacoby has to go out there and just chuck the ball around 50 times a game to get wins. We're built with a faster, better defense, a better front line. We're gonna have to run the football. I mean, it's just that simple. If Jacoby Brissett has time in the pocket, there's just no question Jacoby has an NFL arm. I mean, he can flick that ball down the field just as far as anybody else in the NFL can do it. But Jacoby needs the time. I mean, it's just that simple. He needs a little bit more time to process it, a little cleaner pocket. So we're going to have to just be, just a little bit smoother, and it's going to be a transition. But, one thing about Jacoby, knowing now that he is the starter, a lot of times guys come into their own and they just feel a little sense of relief in that instance. So, although it's an emotional time for us right now, Adam, I think that it's not the end of the world, and I think that the people from the Colts Nation need to realize that um, we've been spoiled with these franchise quarterbacks, Peyton Manning, now Andrew Luck. It doesn't. There's teams that go years and years and years and years without quarterbacks like that. And teams can still make it. To be honest, I mean, if you look at a lot of the Andy Reid teams that he had, He didn't always have the greatest quarterback, but he was a great coach. He could scheme well. He just didn't beat himself. And I think we have a really good foundation regardless of what's going on. So yeah, I'm hurt right now, but I think we can still be excited, and I think we can still have that it'll be kind of interesting to see us have that underdog mentality this year, Adam.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I'm with you on that. I mean, that's honestly when the Colts seem to usually do the best is whenever, nobody's believing in them. I remember the last time the expectations were in 2015 and the Super Bowl, contenders were mentioned that, we all know how that ended up. But, you can't forget that, Bill Belichick spent a fourth round draft pick on this, Jacoby Brissett. I mean, that means something in the NFL and something from a coach like him, as much as how hated he is in Indianapolis. I mean, that guy knows football. And, if he was willing to spend a four on him, then that means something for sure. And we've been able to see that arm talent in the NFL, like you said. I mean, he's got an above average NFL arm. He doesn't have the above average athleticism, but, not everything can come back to that comparison. So, like you said, I mean, this is such a young football team. If you look at the cap space that they have compared to other teams, they are in a tremendous position over the next 2 years, to build however they want to build. So, you can get into some premature, I'm already heard Trevor Lawrence's name, twice tonight. And I think that's very, very premature because, I refuse to believe that they're going to be bad enough to be, picking anywhere at that point in the draft next year. I mean, I honestly think that there's going to be a ton of overreaction. And most power rankings would probably have had the Colts today, 12 hours ago, maybe at number 5. And I think at worst case scenario, just, shooting from the hip here, I still think that they're, a top 10, top 12 NFL football team, with their roster without Andrew Luck right now. You can disagree with me, but that's just what I think. I think they still got talent on this team to win.
Yeah, I think this year you're going to see, you know, this year is going to be the year of the general manager and the coaching staff coming together, and I think we have an appreciation for Ballard and Frank Reich, but I think we're going to have a bigger appreciation for them after this season. I just think that these guys are going to kind of pull it together. And you want to talk about a guy who's went through some rough times. I mean, you got Josh McDaniels who backs out on them, and then you have Andrew Luck who retires on them like this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that's a rough thing to overcome. And Ballard seems to do really well in the face of adversity. So we'll just have to see, but I just wanted to hop on here. I don't want to get into a super crazy lengthy one, but just wanted to have something to kind of put out there for our fan base. I know our fan base has just been blowing me up on Twitter, asking me questions. What do you think? What do you think? So my final thoughts will be this, and I'll turn it over to you, Andrew, or Adam, for your final thoughts. I think it's time to rally around Jacoby Brissett. I mean, I think it's that simple. Appreciate what Andrew Luck did. We can be angry, we can be sad, but we have to appreciate what the guy did for our franchise. He was a fierce competitor when he was on the field, and we can respect that. And no one should ever be compared to Peyton Manning when it all comes down to it, because if I live to be 180 years old, the Colts will probably never have another Peyton Manning. Let's just face it. That's just how it is.
Yep.
But this is the Indianapolis Colts 2019 football team, and this is Jacoby Brissett's football team. We got to stop talking about Andrew Luck. This is Jacoby Brissett's football team, and we just need to move forward, next man up, and here.
Yeah.
What do you got to say about that, man?
Yeah, exactly, man. That's we're gonna. It's gonna be tough to move on, knowing that that he's retired and accepting that, and just like you said that you can't compare him to Peyton Manning. We got to do the same for Jacoby and not do him the injustice of constantly comparing him to Andrew Luck. But at the same time, though, I think it's good that we We know we did this emergency podcast because, dude, this is, the gate, like one of the biggest, most shocking things that this franchise has ever gone through. So I think it's absolutely more than necessary. And I think that, while we are here, while we still are in the preseason, dude, we got to point out that how we got to, as angry as people are right now in Luck for not fulfilling the potential that he had and not fulfilling out the big contract that he signed, that dude was a player. Like, the only man to throw for more touchdowns in his first, 6 NFL seasons was Dan Marino. And you're going to try and call him a bust, that's just ridiculous. And, we were talking before, it's like, I'm going to have to spend probably, all Colts fans will have to spend the rest of their life. Some of our own will be calling him a bust. And, we're going to have to spend the rest of our life trying to explain that, no, I saw that guy play, and that was not a bust. I mean, say what you want about him, but that combination of his athletic ability and his accuracy with the football, it was just amazing. And, it's so unfortunate. And, that the injuries, affect in such a mental struggle like that. I think that we appreciation for, what eventually, if he played for another, even just maybe 5 or 6 more years, which still would have been a disappointment to most Colts fans. I think he would be a Hall of Famer. I can take a lot of flack for that, for being premature and being a homer, but man, I think that's the truth. He was a generational talent, when was just this was different. He was just a different guy from Peyton, and I think that talent should be recognized at the very least.
Absolutely, man. Hey, so Adam, I really appreciate you hopping on here. My very, very last thoughts before we sign off on here is, um, take 24 hours, process this, Colts Nation, and then, salute Andrew Luck for what he did for our franchise. He's one of the reasons, but right now, you need to wake up the very first week 1, and you need to wake up and you need to say, this is Jacoby's team. We're moving forward. We support you 100%. We're all in with you, and keep going, man. Because at the end of the day, it's about Colts Nation. It's never going to be about one player, and I think we are all going to be tested more than we've ever been tested right now. But anyways, man, Adam, thanks for jumping on. Guys, we'll be back on Monday. I think Adam and I are going to do one Monday, and we'll get more in depth on just kind of some preseason thoughts. Right now, can't even talk about that preseason game just because of what happened. But we're going to fill you in. I just want to let you guys know this show's not stopping. This show is just begun, and we're in it for the long haul. So we're excited for what's coming in the future for our show, and we're excited for what's coming for the Colts. So until next time, guys, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Adam.
Thanks for having me on, Zach. See you.
Yes, sir.